Have you ever wondered why your relationships always seem to fall into the same patterns? It's like no matter who you're with, the same arguments come up, the same feelings of frustration, anger, or disappointment resurface, and you're left wondering, why does this keep happening? The reality is that toxic patterns often run deep, and unless we become aware of them and take action, they will continue to show up in our lives, keeping us stuck in unhealthy dynamics. If you're ready to break free from the cycle and build healthier, more fulfilling relationships, this video is for you. Stick around because I'm going to show you exactly how to identify toxic patterns, understand why they occur, and take concrete steps to change them. Relationships are one of the most significant aspects of our lives. Whether it's romantic, family, or friendships, we all seek connection. But what happens when those connections turn into a source of pain and stress? That's where toxic patterns come in. These are recurring behaviors and dynamics that damage the relationship and the people involved. And the hard part is, most of the time, we don't even realize we're caught in them. We think it's just the way relationships work. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. Today, we'll break down the most common toxic patterns, how they form, and how you can start breaking free of them. Trust me, the transformation is worth it. The first step in breaking any toxic pattern is recognizing your emotional triggers. Triggers are events, words, or behaviors that ignite a strong emotional response, often linked to past experiences or unresolved pain. Let's say your partner forgets to respond to a text, and your immediate reaction is to feel hurt or rejected. Before you even have a chance to think it through, you're already in a bad mood, and it spirals into an argument. Sound familiar? The truth is, it's not just the action of forgetting the text, it's your interpretation of it. Maybe it reminds you of past experiences where you felt ignored or abandoned. The key is to pause when you feel triggered and ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? Is my response proportionate to the situation? By identifying your triggers, you can begin to understand the root of your reactions and break the cycle of overreaction and unnecessary conflict. It's human nature to want to point fingers when things go wrong, but if we're really honest with ourselves, we often play a role in perpetuating toxic patterns. Whether it's passive aggressiveness, avoidance, or over-reliance on others for validation, we can unintentionally contribute to unhealthy dynamics. Take a moment and reflect on your behaviors in relationships. Do you avoid difficult conversations, hoping things will just resolve on their own? Or maybe you find yourself frequently seeking reassurance from your partner, not realizing that this constant need for validation is creating a strain. For example, if you're always asking, "Do you still love me?" or "Are you sure we're okay?" it can create pressure and lead to emotional exhaustion. The way forward is to challenge these behaviors, acknowledge when you're not showing up as your best self, and take steps to change that. It's uncomfortable, but the growth that comes from this self-awareness is crucial for breaking toxic patterns. One of the most insidious toxic patterns in relationships is the need for control. Now, when I say control, I don't just mean telling your partner what to do. Control can be much more subtle. It's trying to control how the other person feels, dictating how a conversation goes, or always needing things to be on your terms. It could be as simple as constantly needing reassurance that everything is okay, which, over time, can become suffocating for the other person. For instance, have you ever found yourself trying to fix someone else's emotions? Maybe they're upset about something that has nothing to do with you, but you swoop in, trying to cheer them up or solve their problems. While your intentions might be good, this behavior can actually create a dynamic where the other person feels like they can't express their true feelings without you trying to change them. The solution? Let go of control. Allow your partner or loved one to experience their emotions without interference. Trust that they are capable of handling their feelings. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you create space for healthier interactions. Let's talk about the drama triangle. This concept explains a lot about toxic relationship patterns. In the drama triangle, there are three roles: the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. In any conflict, we tend to slip into one of these roles. The victim feels helpless and blames others for their situation. The persecutor blames and criticizes the other person, and the rescuer tries to save everyone and fix the problems. Think about your past conflicts. Do you often feel like the victim, blaming your partner for all the issues? Or maybe you take on the role of the rescuer, always trying to fix things even when they're not your responsibility. This dynamic is toxic because it creates a loop where blame and helplessness keep the conflict alive. No one takes true responsibility for their actions. Breaking free from the drama triangle means stepping out of these roles. Instead of blaming or rescuing, focus on personal accountability. Ask yourself, what can I do to improve the situation? This shift in perspective will allow you to approach conflicts with maturity and openness, reducing the toxicity in your relationships. I want to hear from you. Have you ever found yourself playing the role of victim, persecutor, or rescuer in your relationships? Let me know in the comments below which role you resonate with and how you've started to shift out of it. Your experiences can help others too. One of the most overlooked aspects of a healthy relationship is the presence of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that you build to keep others out. They are guidelines that help define what is acceptable and what isn't. Without boundaries, you leave yourself vulnerable to resentment, frustration, and burnout. Let's say your partner makes jokes at your expense in front of others. Maybe it's something you laugh off in the moment, but deep down, it bothers you. If you don't set a boundary and communicate that this behavior is hurtful, the cycle continues, and eventually, you explode. By setting a boundary, you're protecting yourself from feeling that resentment. For example, you could say, "I don't appreciate jokes like that in public. Let's keep those kinds of things between us." Boundaries are essential for self-respect, and when both parties in a relationship understand and respect each other's boundaries, it creates a dynamic of trust and mutual respect. Healing old wounds. Toxic patterns don't just come out of nowhere, they often stem from old wounds and past traumas. Maybe you grew up in a household where love was conditional, or you experienced betrayal in a previous relationship. These past experiences leave scars, and if we don't heal them, they'll continue to impact our current relationships. For example, if you were cheated on in the past, you might find yourself constantly suspicious of your current partner, even when there's no evidence to support your fear. This creates a toxic dynamic of mistrust. To break this pattern, you need to address the root of the issue, those unresolved wounds. Therapy, self-reflection, and even journaling can help you process these emotions and let go of the past. It's about healing so that you don't carry the baggage of previous pain into your future relationships. Practicing forgiveness and letting go. Breaking toxic patterns requires a willingness to forgive, not just others, but also yourself. Holding on to grudges or feelings of guilt for your past mistakes keeps you tied to the very patterns you're trying to break. Forgiveness is powerful because it allows you to release the emotional weight that's been holding you down. Let's say your partner did something that hurt you months ago, and you're still holding on to that resentment. Maybe you haven't communicated your feelings fully, or maybe you have, but you can't seem to let go of the hurt. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the behavior, but it does mean releasing its hold on you. Forgive yourself for holding on to the pain, and forgive the other person if you're ready, not for them, but for your own peace. Self-reflection and growth. The last and perhaps most important step is continuous self-reflection. Breaking toxic patterns isn't a one-time fix, it's a lifelong journey. Regularly check in with yourself and your relationships. Ask yourself, am I falling into old habits? Are there new toxic patterns emerging that I need to address? Growth is a never-ending process, and the more you commit to self-reflection, the more you can stay on top of unhealthy dynamics before they take root. This could look like setting aside time each week to reflect on how you've handled conflicts, emotions, and interactions with others. The more aware you are, the easier it becomes to break free from these patterns before they even start. Breaking toxic patterns isn't easy, but it's one of the most transformative things you can do for your relationships and your life. It takes self-awareness, courage, and a commitment to personal growth. Remember, the work begins with you. When you take responsibility for your actions, set healthy boundaries, and strive for continuous self-improvement, you pave the way for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Keep going. The journey is worth it.